Hello there, beautiful teachers, and welcome to another Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. This is the show for you if you're a music teacher who wants to teach more creatively, have more fun while doing it, and run an efficient business at the same time. Today we are talking about awards, rewards, stickers, candy, even have some. Wish I could give it to you through this screen, but I even have some chocolate on hand. So we're talking about rewards in the music studio and where they fit in, and particularly we're drawing our inspiration from the book Punished by Rewards by Alfie Kohn. We're not just doing that though today. That is our special topic of the day, and every week we have a special theme like that, but we also go through the latest music teacher news, fun stuff that's coming up, and we do website reviews, and we have an Ask Me Anything section for all of your burning questions. So, if you have a question, please type it into the chat. Use the word question in all caps. I'm very excited that my live streaming software now allows me to search, so it's going to make it even easier for me to find those questions if you put question on the question. Okay? Good. Awesome. We'll get to those at the end. You can literally ask me about anything. I do not mind what the topic is. Doesn't have to be related to today. So, with that being said, stick around if you're brand new and say hi to us in the chat. Make sure to like this video, and let's get into the music teacher news. So in my personal update, last week was the Teacher Turbo Boost. So that's been my whole brain for a week. Pretty much. I've been keeping up with VMT, obviously, and doing any work that needed to be done, so I wasn't holding any team members back, anything like that, but I've been mostly focused on the Teacher Turbo Boost and connecting with all of you who were part of it. So hit me up in the chat, let me know if you were there. It was an amazing week. It was just a wonderful week of community, and I so enjoyed seeing the community come together. What we did was we did 5 days, 3 hours per day together, and we had 2 hours of training from myself and from guests, and then we had 1 hour Zoom calls at the end of each day where the attendees got together in huddles or breakout rooms in Zoom and discussed things from that day and made action plans. And I think that was maybe many people's highlight of it. If you were there, let me know what your highlight was. Was it the huddle calls? Was it one of the particular sessions? I know loads of people enjoyed doing the improv at the start of the day. I'd love to hear what it was that you enjoyed so much. Thank you, Lee. I really appreciate that. Timing won't work for everyone every time, and we will do some kind of event like this in the future, maybe the same, maybe different, depending on what the community needs. And hopefully that one will work out for you the next time. Oh, yes, the replays are available for a year to those who've already signed up. Ellen, so just to confirm that, you can watch them whenever you want over the next year. And thank you very much, Juliet. I'm so glad it was great for you to chat with other teachers and we got that connection going. But outside of Teacher Turbo Boost Langed, there was some other stuff going on too. So we released a new podcast, which was what I learned about listening in online lessons, which was one I wanted to record for quite a while before I actually did, because I feel that's one of the biggest set of lessons, I should say, from the past year for me. Yeah, we've learned a lot about technology, and community is my other big lesson. And business and all sorts of things, right? We've all been learning constantly for a year at least. I mean, we're all always learning, right? But yeah, the biggest thing for me and maybe the most surprising for me was learning more about proper listening, not just ear training, but other listening tools and adjustments. And so, yeah, that podcast was released last today. Yeah, it was today. So I hope you enjoy hearing about that experience as well. And then we did an update of our Salsa singing post as well. So if you're looking to get into singing with solfa, that might be useful for you. That's over on the Colourful Keys blog. And we had a couple of YouTube videos in the absence of our live video. Here, like our regular show that you're watching right now. We had a couple of pre-recorded videos. So those were about annotation apps and technique teaching issues with adult students. So hopefully you guys enjoyed those. If you didn't catch them, of course, just click through to the channel and you can watch them at any time. So yeah, that's been my news for the past week. It's all been in Turbo Boost land, but we did release a lot of stuff outside of that, just in case you weren't able to come along. And so great to see so many of you here live, and especially in different parts of the world. I love hearing how things are going in different parts. Like Melissa said, my toddler class just got rained out, so I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I presume it had to be outside, right, Melissa? So then rain tends to be a disruption. We don't tend to rely on it not raining over here, but I know in parts of the world you will assume it's not raining unless it actually does. We just assume rain is always imminent. And yeah, lots of, that's not what I meant, lots of votes for the huddles being the best part of the Turbo Boost. So I'm so glad those worked out well for you. And it was a good chance to connect with other teachers. Right, so that's been my news. Let's get into some sneak peeks at what's coming up soon. So next week here on the show, we'll be back to our regular schedule. It was just 1 week off. We are talking about grit and growth mindset. And when I asked about the topics you guys were most excited to hear about this month, these were one of the top areas that you wanted covered. So Grit and Growth Mindset 101 for music teachers. That is next week here on the show. We're going to be talking about helping students understand that they can get better, that their abilities are not fixed, that talent is one of my least favourite words and should be banned from everyone's vocabulary, and that we need to stick at things and to help them to stick at it through the difficulties. So that's next week. And then at the end of this month, so this month is going to be all about motivation. And the end of this month, we're going to be doing a masterclass. We normally do these actually towards the start of the month, but because of the Turbo Boost, we decided to move it to give a little bit of breathing room. So it's going to be at the last week of this month. It's called Growing Gritty Piano Students in the Digital Age. Let me know if you're excited about that topic. That's going to be a really good one, and I wanted to give it a mention, especially in light of just coming off the Turbo Boost, because we'll be doing 2 huddle calls after that one for members. So the masterclass will be open to the public, open to everyone for a limited window. And then the replay is only available to members. And the huddle calls, which are our group calls where we get together and make action plans and discuss how to implement the ideas from the masterclass, those are going to be only available to members as well. And we're doing 2 this time. So we did 1 in February, that was our first huddle session, and then we did huddles every day during the Turbo Boost, and now we're doing 2 huddle calls the next time to accommodate different time zones. So it's at the end of the month, right? April still has to happen, but it'll be here before you know it. So know that that is coming up, and you can get all the details and see it in your time zone on the member calendar. Just click through to the calendar. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up to do with motivation and all of that this month. But right now, today, we're kicking it off by talking about awards and rewards and candy and prizes and all of that good stuff. So let's dive in. When it comes to motivation in the music studio, rewards and awards are pretty common. In fact, incredibly common. Most music teachers that I talk to have something like this. Either they use stickers, or they have like a prize box, a special music money store with little trinkets people can buy, or candy that they give out, chocolate, other stuff like that. And I am not here to tell you, don't do this instead. That's the correct way, that's the right way, that's the wrong way, right? That's never what I'm here to do. But what I would like to bring to you today is 5 different ideas from the book Punished by Rewards by Alfie Kohn. Let me know if you have read this book, but if you haven't, it is a pretty substantial book. That's what I'm going to say. I actually listened to it on audiobook. So I don't have a book to show you, I just have my phone. That is the audiobook which I listened to several years ago now. And don't get me wrong, it's well written, it's engaging, but it's big. And so what I wanted to do was bring you 5 of the ideas from it that can help us to start thinking about these ideas. And maybe then you go get the book. Maybe you branch off from these ideas further. You could take many different approaches. And I'm not here to give you an answer to each one of these questions. What I wanted to do today is to open our minds to these ideas. Some of them are going to feel pretty uncomfortable, and they did for me too when I listened to the book, but I think we learn a lot when we step outside of our comfort zone. And then we can always disagree later, but we have to listen fully first. So that's what these ideas are about, and I'm going to share them with you right now. So here's the first one. Carrots can be sticks. This is lesson number 1 from Punished by Rewards for Alfie Kohn. Now, he doesn't use these words, but this is one of the ideas. What I'm talking about here is the fact that we assume that positive reinforcement, rewards, are good, and negative reinforcement, punishments, are bad. That's kind of a common, generally perceived to be true knowledge these days in most places. And yet, the point Alfie makes in the book here is that although we see the punishment as punishment, it's in the title, Punished by Rewards. Rewards can be punishment too. When we incentivize people with a carrot, when we give them a reward for what they do, we train them to only do the thing for that reward. So in a way, the carrot becomes a punishment. The other way this is true is even more interesting to me. So let's imagine I tell you that if you wait until dinner time and you don't have anything until then, I will give you a piece of white chocolate. Do you like white chocolate? I don't know. I'm going to give you this Lindor, okay? So, if you wait all the way till dinner time, from now, whenever that is for you, even if it's 8 a.m. right now, I'm going to give this to you. You're going to have it as your treat. Or choose your treat of preference, right? Something you really, really like. And let's say you wait until 6. And you think that's dinner time, but in my house, no sorry, it's 7. It's always been 7. It is 100% a rule in my parents' house that dinner is at 7. We could go over there today, it would be on the table at 7. So, you're wrong. You haven't waited until dinner. You can't have it. And you're now starving because you were expecting to have this thing at 6. So you have, let's say, a carrot stick. And you get to 7 p.m. and I still won't give this to you. Doesn't it feel like I've taken that away from you? Like you were entitled to it and I've taken it away? And it especially feels that way for a kid. It doesn't feel like I offered you something and then you didn't achieve it so you don't get the thing. It feels like you basically had this. You feel like you already had this item and I took it away from you. And that's one of the traps of rewards. The book is called Punished by Rewards by Alfie Kohn. That's bad parenting, my friend. Yeah, I'm giving you a silly example. But you see what I mean about that feeling like something was taken away rather than something you didn't get. Felt like something you were supposed to get and now you didn't. And so it feels the same as if I gave you the chocolate and then took it away in some ways. And they did so well for 90% of the time. Exactly, Laurie. So, that's part of what the idea is of carrots being sticks. Now, like I said, this is a long book. He goes into much more detail. But that's one little nugget I wanted you to chew on. The next one is, when in doubt, adultize. So, I gave you that example before, which was kind of a kid version. But where I think Alfie does really well in this book is he often takes something in a kid realm and puts it into the adult realm, and it immediately becomes clear what the problem is with that situation. So let's say that chocolate thing happened. Doesn't seem like a big deal to us, but we know kids care quite a lot about chocolate in general. And so they're going to see that quite differently to the way we would. Right? So let's move that into our adult world. Let's say that you work for me in Insurance Incorporated, Inc. And in Insurance Incorporated, Inc., every year you've worked for me, for 3 years so far, every year you've gotten a bonus. I've given you a bonus at Christmas, okay? So 2 weeks before Christmas I say, come on in! Great news, got a bonus for you, you did great work this year. Here's 500 quid, okay? And you go out and you're used to spending that on a fancy restaurant that you would never go to otherwise. It's like your fun annual tradition. Year 4, I don't give it to you. And you come to me and you say, I still did great work. I'm sorry, did I do something wrong? Can you tell me what I did? And I say, yeah, you did fine, but, you seem to be intrinsically motivated now, and so I thought you were okay to keep going by yourself at this stage. Are you going to want to do your best work in year 5? Nope. You do not feel valued. And that bonus didn't really matter. Okay, €500, $500, that's great, that's nice, right? But I could have just paid you that amount more per year and made it part of the salary. I didn't do it that way. I did it as a bonus. And that means it should be an extra, but it doesn't feel like an extra. After the first few times, it feels like something you're entitled to. And it feels like it's why you did the work. Now, if I didn't give you that bonus the first few years, you probably would have worked just as hard. And you would have continued working that way because you want to do a good job for this mindlessly boring insurance company. Alright, no offense to anyone working in insurance. I'm sure it's not all boring. Do you see how taking that and putting it in the structure of money and adultness gives it a different flavor? Now, that's not directly related to the chocolate analogy we did before, but you see how we transform something that could have been a kid situation into an adult situation. Let's move it back into the kid realm so you can see what I mean. In the kid realm, that's the equivalent of month 1. I'm going to go months instead of years because years are so long for kids. So month 1 of lessons. The kid gets to the end of the month, they've practiced 5 days a week, every week, and they've been making good progress and working really hard. And so you give them a bonus. Maybe it's the red one this time. Month 2, same deal. They keep practicing, keep going forward, give them another bonus. Month 3, same. Month 4, they get to the end of the month, ready for their chocolate, and you say, oh no, I think you're going great now. You passed that beginner stage. You can keep going. You're doing great work. Do you want to keep doing the thing? Do they want to keep doing the thing? I don't think so. But they might have been intrinsically motivated in the first place. So sometimes we can rob kids of that intrinsic motivation or that just interest and desire to learn by giving them unnecessary rewards. Like I said, not all these ideas are going to be comfortable for you, and I'm not saying you have to 100% agree with me or go all the way through with these ideas, but I want to give us 5 nuggets to help us think. So let's go to number 3. Praise can be candy. This one hurt me the most. So if you've been in pain so far because you're giving out candy, know that I'm with you on this one. I don't give out candy, I never have in my studio, but I will heap on praise. And when praise is done the wrong way, Alfie would argue, and I've come to mostly agree with him, that praise can act that way. Praise can be a reward as much as anything else in the wrong framing and the wrong context is the nuance that I've added to that. Alfie would go further than this, so again, listen to the book if you're curious on his opinions. But the reason praise can be candy is because students can come to rely on it just as much as that chocolate at the end of the month. It can be what they're actually working towards. They're working so that they come to the lesson and you say, good job, or you're amazing, or, right? They're working for that appreciation. And when we're not careful, they can end up working only for that appreciation. So that praise can act just the same way that the candy did. Now, it's not exactly the same. And this is why I wrestled with this so much, because we do need to praise kids, right? We need to show them that we see what they're doing, that we see the work they're putting in. But what I've come to land upon with this particular one is that I needed to adjust the way I praised kids. This is actually one of the reasons I didn't share anything about this book really for several years. I had to digest it and learn new ways of praising. And I've come to be better at praising through pointing out things that they did so that they acknowledge themselves that they did the thing. Like, it's entirely fact-based. And a good example of this is just simply, you did it. You did it has a very different flavor to it than well done. You did it. It's just a fact. And it feels a bit cold somehow. But it doesn't feel that way when you do it. It has all this emotion behind it sometimes. So let's say a student worked really hard on a piece for 3 weeks, and third week they're saying, I'm just not getting this. Miss Teacher, this is not going to work, right? I'm not getting anywhere, I can't do it. They're feeling really down about it. And you have a chat with them, and you give them some strategies, and you send them home. And they come back the next week, and they can play it, whatever the technical challenge was. Maybe it's not perfect, but they can do it. They've made huge progress. And you turn to them and you say, you did it. That is so much more like you've seen what they actually did than so much of the praise that we give out. And it has to be genuine, it has to be real like any other praise, but that can be powerful. Now you can take this much further in terms of pointing out facts. You can say, I saw that at the start you included the forte and then you stuck with the same tempo the whole way through. You weren't able to do that last week and this week you can, and I know it's because you put all this practice in. Right? So I'm not saying don't praise. Absolutely not. And neither is Alfie, by the way. In one part of it that I re-listened to in preparation for this, he says that he's not saying not to smile at people, because obviously people have said that his research, taken that from his research before. He's not saying don't smile at people, don't be friendly, don't be nice, don't be supportive. But what I think he is saying, and I think he's right about, is the way we praise can be harmful and can become a crutch. So that's number 3. 2 more to go. play can become work. This is one that takes care as well. If we're not really careful about the way we talk, the way we frame things, the incentives we give out, we can transform an activity that students thought of as fun and engaging into work or school or whatever way they see it. And it doesn't have to be transformed that way. Kids are made to learn. And they have this innate desire. You've seen kids working and working at something. But sometimes when adults intervene, when adults try to reinforce that behavior that didn't need reinforcing, that was fine, we can make that play into work. We can make it into an obligation. Let's have another analogy. Let's go to you and a housemate. So you're living with someone. You can imagine it's your partner. You can imagine it's just a house share, okay? You're living with this person. And you see that they're working so hard and their job is really tough on them. They're a nurse. They're working really long hours. And you start thinking, oh, it would be lovely if I made dinner for them, just to show my appreciation, show I see the work that they're putting in. So you sit down and you come up with a great recipe that they're going to love, and you put it together with such care, and you sit down together and have it for when they get in from their shift. And you loved putting that together. I know it's hard for you to imagine if you are someone who hates cooking, but just imagine it. Sometimes cooking can be really fun. It's really enjoyable to do. But let's say they come back to you the next morning and they say, oh, I'm heading off to work now. I so appreciated you cooking last night. It made such a difference to me because I was able to eat a healthy meal and I feel so much better today and it is worth so much to me. So, would you consider doing this for me every day this week if I pay you €10 per meal, $10, $20, doesn't matter what the amount is. They offered to pay you to keep making that for them. And the truth is, you knew that this whole week they are working extra long shifts because they're covering for a friend who's dealing with their sick mom, and it's all this situation, right? So you were already planning on doing this all week. You just hadn't said anything to them. But do you feel good about doing it now? It was essentially play. It was something you were doing because it was a choice. It was from interest and love and care. And now they've taken that and they've put a dollar amount on it. And if you're a kid, a dollar amount might not be the way this comes out, but it might be in, oh, if you keep doing that, I will give you this. Now, that's where we need to be careful of play becoming work. It's that word keep. It's something they're already doing, and we're trying to motivate them to continue it. And sometimes we just trot on our own feet. Okay, last one to think about. Remember, these are not set in stone. These are starts of conversations, and I hope you'll continue them in your head or out loud. Student-centered comments. What I mean here is getting students to acknowledge their own work and putting them at the center of what we're talking about. So instead of praise or instead of motivation, motivating tactics of other kinds, rewards, stickers, anything like that, it's about saying things with the student at the center of it. We talk about student-centered learning, right, all the time. And student-centered comments are where the easy description of this would be with pride, okay? So instead of saying, I'm so proud of you, I say, you must be so proud of yourself. They are at the center of that comment. And you can do this with tons of other comments, right? And this is more something that branched off, I think, after reading Alfie's book and seeing how this would work for us in our relationships with students. But it's something that's become really valuable for me to think about, and I don't always get it right. right? But I might sometimes come out with the wrong thing and then say the right thing after it. So know that you can do that if that's where you're at, if that's what happens to you, because it certainly has happened to me. Try putting the student at the center of the praise or the comment and see where that takes you. So those were our 5 different ideas. Let's just review them real quick. Carrots can be stick, right? The positive reinforcement can be just as negative reinforcement. When in doubt, adultize. When you're not sure how this feels or how it's going to affect student motivation, put it in the adult world. Put it in the realm of a career and money, because it's normally easy to translate it to that and you will see it in a whole new light. Praise can be candy. Praise can be just as much of a reward as physical objects can, and should be treated with care as well, in the way that we do it and in when we do it. When we do praise, can we try and make our comments student-centered so that the student is at the middle of it? And play can become work if we're not careful. I wanted to include that because I talk so much about play all over the place, and I think it is so important. But if we make it incentivized, sometimes we transform it into something that is actually work. So, some questions that came through while I was doing that. Melissa said, but would a teacher really stop giving the reward? I would never stop a reward system. Right, Melissa, but don't you want your student to be a lifelong learner? So they're going to leave your studio someday. The goal with any of these incentive systems is not that they keep going forever. It can't be, because they're not going to stay in your studio forever. So the goal is always that eventually they graduate from it somehow, whether that's within the time they're in your studio or not. But I would say, like that chocolate at the end of the month, if that was your system, I'm sure it's not, Melissa, right? But let's just say it was. That keeping going for 10 years is pretty extreme. Not many teachers would actually do that. But even if they did, after 10 years, that student leaves and they're not going to get that reward. I'll give you a more realistic example though, and that is here, and in many countries, our exam system does this. I can't tell you the number of adults I talk to who say, oh yeah, I learned all the way to grade 8 and that's the last level, by the way, here. I learned all the way to grade 8, I was 17, and I haven't touched it since. They've literally never touched a piano, and they're now like 40, right? What was the point of that? Why did they get... Sure, their brain developed and all that fun stuff, but really, they're never going to play music again in their life. And I believe a big reason behind that is they had been trained by that system to work for the grade. That's what they were doing. And without that at the end of it, it's very hard to motivate yourself to learn music. And I made that transition myself, and I managed to get through it, but I saw how hard it was even for me. So, yeah. That's an interesting reward system. All right, Melissa. My current reward for practicing is that they get to continue taking lessons with me. Yeah, so they get fired, in other words, if they don't practice, right? Lydia, so glad you enjoyed the food for thought today. And like I said, this is not meant to be a prescription. So if anything came across from me as me saying, do it this way, don't do it that way, don't give out candy, do give out stickers, whatever, because I have stickers on my face. They're still on my face. They're staying. Anyway, yeah, it's not meant to say that. And by the way, I still use stickers. I use stickers in a couple of different ways. I use regular stickers like these ones, just to mark pieces complete, but I transitioned to being more careful about how I talk about them. So really, it's almost like the ceremonial thing. It's just, we're talking about the fact that they have made this progress on this piece and the work that they've put in, and that means that we're ready to move on from this piece or keep it on our warm-up set if they love it and we're going to mark it with a sticker. It's just a marker, really. And it's fun to pick out a sticker, and that's still great, but the sticker is not a reward. It's a symbol of finished, right? So I think that's a different way of looking at it. At least that's how I see it. But, Alfie would probably be against my stickers. So I'm not saying I went all the way punished by rewards, comfort, in everything. But it definitely got me thinking. Yes, Ellen, nothing beats that feeling. And we need to capitalize on it. We need to use that moment to say to them, you could not do that before, and now you can, and you must be so proud of yourself. And get them to talk about it if you at all can. Because it is so powerful when you get them to say, yeah, last week, and some students do this naturally, like you'll know the students who do this, but the other ones need to be encouraged to do it. So yeah, last week I thought that was impossible, or 3 months ago I thought I could never do this. I watched you playing and I thought it was totally crazy pants, but now I can do it. I can play it at the speed you can. I can play it even faster, or whatever the goal is. It's not always speed. I didn't mean to give that implication. I'm interested, Faye, what the reward was. I'm not picking on you, by the way. I'm just interested in what the reward was at the end of this, because some things focus more on the work you put in and act as a symbol of that, and some things don't. I come back to, so when you're running an online competition, I actually don't know that I've ever done one, but I follow business blogs and things like that, and they'll give advice about running an online competition, and one of the things that they commonly say is, don't just give out an iPad, because the people who apply for that, who participate in that competition, just want the iPad. They don't care about your particular blog or your business, and you want people that are relevant. And I think it's different, of course, but it should be relevant to the thing, is what I'm saying there. It's not just giving out an iPad or an ice cream. It's something that is an emblem of that thing. So maybe when you finish your mode project, you get a printed copy of the book. And you could see that as a reward, or you could just see it as the result of putting in that work. Do you see what I mean? So definitely lots to think about. Awesome ideas being added in the chat here. I love it. Okay, just a reminder that if you have a specific question for me, please type question followed by your question, and I will get to those in our Ask Me Anything section after we do our web reviews. I just realized I need to move those. After we do our web reviews, and just as a reminder, in our web reviews, these are the things that we're looking for. So, we are looking for that the website has enough text on it, that it has a clear call to action, that's what CTA stands for, that it's consistent in its branding, so colors and fonts just stay the same, they're simple and consistent throughout the site, that it showcases the teacher in question or the studio in question, uses real photos ideally of them and their students, and it has a simple menu structure, nothing too complicated. So with those things in mind, let's take a look at our 2 websites for today. Now, so we're in the music room, and straight away we can see photos of the students in the studio, which is awesome. I like that, first of all, we can see games, that looks like Relative Rhythms right there, and then we can see that this is up to date because someone's wearing a face mask, and it's talking about collaboration, and it's obviously something fun going on, but it also shows that the website is updated, right? And little nods like that can be useful in times like these. The only thing I'll say about these photos is they need to be bigger. They're glorious. Please make them bigger. Please make them full width and take up much more room on the page. Other than that, on this page, I would like to see a lot more text. So, yeah, just a lot more information about you, Sharon. And maybe the login not on the home page. I always debate this. So this is clearly a My Music Staff website, which is great. The thing about this login box is I find it distracting if I'm a prospective parent. And on the home page, I don't think I am a current parent. I think I'm probably a prospective parent. So my tendency or my inclination would be to move this only to a page where people are probably continuing students, because that's when they want to actually log in. Let's take a look at some other pages. A little bit about you. Lovely video of you and your Santa hat. Love that. Great, okay. I would again put a bit more. But other than that, I think it's a great tone. It's really good. And again, photos here bigger. In general, if you can make this the full width, that is actually what I would do. I'd remove this login and put the video in the content of the page rather than being off to the side with a sidebar. I don't think you necessarily need a sidebar right there. I like that this page has lots of info though. I love that photo. Again, I think it should be bigger, but I love it. And yeah, I think you're doing wonderfully at the content and what you've included here. Register for lessons. See, you don't have the login link there, which it makes sense, but again, I'd just be careful about which page you're putting that on. I would maybe only put it on the blog page, because most of the time you're going to direct parents directly to the My Music Staff portal. At least that's what I do. I don't include it on my site at all, in fact, but even if you do, just it doesn't necessarily need to be on many pages. Oh, great. I always caution blogs because people don't update them or they don't put any content in them. They'll just be one or two posts, but you do have quite a few there, so I think that's wonderful, Sharon. And well done, yeah, so those are my main recommendations. Bigger photos, possibly full width pages if you can, and a bit more content on this page and your about page. Now, next we have BJ Harmon. So this is a very different feeling site, as you can see. We've got lovely logo up here, and we've got a big image. We call this a hero image right here. So it's a big whole page image, and it looks really great, and it's cycling through. So here's the thing, BJ. I love the one I can't land on. Okay. The one of you, but it's not stopping on that one. I don't love this one because it feels a bit like, is it a haunted studio? Not to be, I know people don't think it's haunted. I'm just saying, like, the vibe it gives off is not very you, from what I know of you. I'm not really sure what like whether you just thought it was a nice photo, but try to make the photos speak about you. Even if they are stock images, they could be a lot more representative of who you are as a teacher, which I know is someone really fun and engaging. This is a lovely background photo. I would like to see the full photo. Oh, and I love these. Can we just put those up the top? I think they'd be wonderful. That and stopping on you for longer. And look at that! Kapow! Love it. Yeah, so that's my main thing, is just those top photos on this homepage. Let's take a look at the about and contact. This is a really good example of a simple dimple menu, right? It's actually just a one-page site, but it looks great and it's all you need. Okay, good. Nice and simple. Lovely photo. Yep. Okay, great. So the only other thing missing on the homepage is a button to tell me what to do. I know you've got this. It's just a bit inconspicuous. So something a bit more in my face would be good. And it doesn't have to be... I see it stopped on you that time, so there must be a glitch there. Yeah. Okay. Get started is just not the strongest phrase, so I would rethink that. Maybe it's sign up, apply, something a little bit stronger, and the button a little bit bigger. That's what they really mean about in your face. and maybe, I was going to say a brighter colour, no, but I think if it's bigger, that'll be good. Well done, both of you, on fantastic sights. Great start. Now let's dive into our Ask Me Anything section. Alright, and we are back, and I still have stickers on my face, so I feel like I'm winning some kind of weird contest. Okay, so we had a question there from Miriam, and she said, how to explain to a mother that a child needs a break from grade exams. Right, tough. Okay, here's where I would start with this mother. I would start the conversation with finding out what her goals are for her child. Maybe this is something you've already talked about and you can refer back to a previous conversation to kick this off, or maybe this is the first time you're asking her this. But you need to find out what it is she wants. Does she want her kiddo to love music? Does she want her to play particular pieces? Does she want her to play in concerts? What does she want? That can open you up to so much more, because most parents are not going to say, I want her to pass grade 8 before she's 16. Now, if she does say that, I would come back and ask why. Why, until you get to the bottom reason. The only unfortunate bottom reason, I guess, is, so she can get credits. Like if there's credits for uni or something like that where you are, that's a different story. But most parents, when you come down to it, they only want it because it's a measure of progress and they feel like they can understand where their investment is going when they have that piece of paper. So if that's the reason, she just needs more regular updates. They need other goals to go alongside piano lessons, and you can start that conversation. But it all starts with that open conversation with the mum so that you can find out what's going on and why. And then you can address the underlying concern. But why, Miriam? That's my follow-up. Why? You have to understand what the actual motivation there is. Like it can't be just because, right? You can't want grades just because you want grades. That's not a complete circle. Doesn't make any sense. So you need to keep probing a little bit gently and politely, but you need to find out what is motivating that underneath that. I'll give you an example. I had a student a couple of years ago. Mum didn't want her to sit out one of the grades. I wanted her to take a year off and come back actually at the next grade. I wasn't even saying she needs time to catch up or anything. I was saying, don't do grade 4, let's do grade 5 in 2 years or whatever. And it turns out actually now she's doing grade 6, because here's the thing about exams. They slow you down most of the time if you're a good practicer. Anyway, so that mum though, the underlying concern was she hadn't had all the educational opportunities that she felt she should have had growing up, and she felt like that made her career get off to a shaky start, and so she's very aware of giving her child the best possible start in all things education. So the pieces of paper really matter to her because of the background she has. And once we started that conversation, we start to have a real conversation, right? And I can assure her and convince her that nobody cares and nobody will ever notice, and in fact it's considered a good thing if you skip a grade. So that addressed her underlying concern. Her daughter's now doing great, working towards grade 6. But like I say, you have to get to the underlying reason. Yeah, projecting, but in the best possible way, right? Wanting the best for your child. It's not even quite projecting, right? It's that thing that I think all parents and kids do, which is you want the opposite, or you want something different. You want the thing that was lacking for you, right? Child doesn't like classical and wants to quit. Does she want to quit the instrument entirely? Because that can, again, be start of the conversation with the mum. Because if you don't let her sit out of grades and learn something else, she is going to quit. You don't have complete control over your child. That's not how children work. Question. Melissa, when a student is consistently not practicing, do you suggest talking to the parent about change of instrument or activity, or just let them keep going at a slow pace? So the first thing I would do is reach out to the parent and have a conversation about, are they happy with this or not? It's essentially what I'm getting to. I wouldn't put it that way, but that's what I want to ascertain. Are you happy for them to keep just going slowly? Because that's what's happening. And that's fine with me. Now, if it's not fine with you, that's a different story. But for me, if a student is progressing, I know they could be going faster, but they just also do hockey and badminton and taekwondo and Mandarin and all the other things. And it's just not enough of a priority for them to practice as much as they could be or would be ideal. If that's the case, and I'm happy for them to keep going, I want to make sure that the parent is aware that that's the situation, that they're not maximizing their investment, right? And once they are, I'm happy for us to keep going at that pace. But I will also mention to them that I have ideas and I can give them tips on making the practice routine work if that is what they want. Most of them do want that, they're just struggling. So, yeah. And then would I suggest another instrument or activity? No, only if I felt like their attitude in lessons, i.e. their enjoyment of lessons, was not there. So if they're coming to me and they seem like they just don't want to be there, they hate it, they hate piano, or they hate me, or they hate the whole lesson idea, no matter what I try, after trying several different approaches, of course, then yes, I will say, I don't think this is beneficial, so they need to seek out a different teacher or whatever. But I would actually, depending on the student's age, have that conversation with the kid first. Like, it seems like you don't want to be here. Do you really not want to be here? Is it something else going on? What can I do to help? What would you like to be learning? And if they're saying, just hate it, then yeah, I would have that conversation with the parent. Libeth, you said we can ask anything. In solfa, how do you deal with accidentals in a song if you are singing it? I was not taught solfa, but I'm trying to use it in lessons. Yeah, so if they're going outside of the key, I'm going to assume you're not talking about... Okay, so let's just clarify one thing just for everybody who's watching. I use movable do solfa, which means that C is not always do. Do is the tonic of the major scale. Okay? So, assuming that's in place, and so if we're in A major, C sharp is me, and you're talking about raising or lowering using chromatic notes, what I would do is modify the vowel. That's what I was taught to do. So if something is flattened, you would make that, so let's take a common one, or sharpened. So let's take so. That is the 7th in the minor scale. And so when I say so all the time, so it gets really inconvenient. So that's why I'm laughing at myself, because I just said it again. But so becomes C when it is raised. So what you really do is change the vowel. And if you have the melodic minor, fa would become fi. You see how that works? I don't generally get up to that level of solfa with students, but that would be the approach I would take if I was in that situation. That's what I was taught. Fantastic. Okay, I think I got all the questions, but I'm going to use my new nifty search to make sure. Yeah, that works so great. I'm so happy I have that now. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's been a blast. It's been a longer one as we get back into the swing of things. So if you stuck with me the whole way through and you like this video, please hit that little thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. That helps spread this video to more teachers who could benefit from the information we share. And I hope to see you back here next week for another Vibrant Music Teaching chat. See you then, guys. Bye.